You're still awake, okay, all right. So I will call to order the North Plains URA meeting for February 2nd. At 8:03. Lori, do you mind doing roll call, please?
Thank you. Director Dumbrell.
Present.
Director Hagedorn.
Present.
Director Papen.
Present.
Director Redding.
Here.
Director Weber.
Present.
Director DeForge.
Present.
All right, so we have 3 items on our consent agenda today. We have the city manager report to go over our agenda items. We've got approval of our special session agenda and the approval of our minutes from December 1st, 2025. I think.
We don't realize that. I mean,
Do I need a motion to approve all 3 items on the consent agenda tonight?
Director Hagedorn, that city manager report about agenda items, it really isn't meant as part of consent agenda. It's just for people to use,
Okay,
you know?
okay,
It's purely meant to be kind of a bit of discussion,
Reference.
description about what's happening at each, on each agenda item. So you don't need, and same thing for city council meetings. That's the intent of that memo, is just to give people some more information.
Okay.
That's all that is.
okay. Well, that said, do I have a motion to approve the agenda and the past meeting minutes?
So moved.
I'll second. Do we need to take a vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, do we have any public comments?
no.
I see the big line.
Just have a point of order.
Okay.
Just double checking, at the time of our last meeting for URA, I believe, we did not have Commissioner DeForge or Commissioner Weber. Would they need to abstain for point of order, or does it matter?
No, they can still vote on the minutes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, no public comments. I think the next item on the docket is officer elections. Bill, do you want to kind of talk us through this?
Yeah, sure. I mean, basically, you all get to go through a process like you just did with council president. Just, kind of ask for nominations, and if there's a second, you can then vote on it. It's kind of on the simpler side.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're starting off the year with a clean slate. And that said, let's start off with the chair for the chair for 2026. Do I have any?
Director Hagedorn, I think we have an enthusiastic URA participant here, so I would like to nominate Director Weber.
Okay, do I have any seconds? Can I vote? Okay.
There can be more than one nomination.
I'll second that nomination.
Okay, yeah.
Do we have any other nominations?
Counselor or Director Redding, I'd like to nominate Director Papen.
Do we have any seconds?
I'll second.
Okay.
Counselor Papen would like to nominate, I'm sorry, Commissioner Papen would like to nominate Commissioner Dunbrow.
This is fine.
Great.
There's only one person left that can second.
Are you tracking this?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So, Counselor DeForge nominated Counselor Weber,
Mhm,
director. You seconded that.
mhm.
Director Redding nominated Director Papen. Director Dumbrell seconded it. Then the last one, what was the last one?
Aaron, or Director Dunbrow nominated.
No, No,
Director Weber.
yes, and there's only one person left that can
Then
second,
I can do it.
you can second it.
Yeah, so I would second, Mayor Dumbrun.
Okay, so we have three choice points. Is this a paper ballot or?
Do we check to see if everybody? No, it's not a paper ballot. It's not that formal, honestly, it's.
Okay,
You
so
need
it's a
to-
motion, basically, first to motion.
You vote for yourself or how's that work?
Well,
So-
hold on. So you need to actually ask if the people, if they're willing to do it before we vote.
All right. So those nominated, are you willing participants?
Sure.
Head nod from Dawn. I saw a head nod from Dunbrow. And Trista? Okay. All right, next.
And
next
now you go
is-
in order of who was nominated. You call for
Yeah, so
ayes
okay.
and nays.
all those in favor of Director Weber, say aye, and you're gonna have to do a
Name a roll call.
vote,
Okay,
because I wanna make sure that because the mics don't always get it, so.
all right, so all those in favor for Director Weber, say aye. Aye.
One at a time, say
Oh,
your name, please.
Start with on the end of the table.
Commissioner Haven, aye.
Okay.
Commissioner Haydorn, aye.
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 Oh, let's just make it unanimous. Aye.
Okay.
There you go.
Commissioner, welcome to the party. So what, are you the president?
Chair.
What's your name? Chair Weber, okay.
So now you pass the gavel to Chair Weber, and Chair Weber
Excellent.
does the vice chair.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is we're accepting nominations for vice chair for 2026. So we are open for nominations. Do I have a nomination?
Don't know, speak
Dawn
on it.
McSall.
Hmm?
You have a hand.
Counselor Redding?
I nominate Director Haven for, is it vice chair?
Question.
I'll second.
With a second with Mayor Dumbrun. Do we have any other nominations?
I'll nominate Commissioner Redding for vice chair.
Second.
I do not accept.
Okay. I nominate a Chair Forge.
I think I will decline,
Okay.
but thank you though.
So we have several declines and we have do we have an acceptance?
Okay.
We're ready to call for right, for a second.
Okay. Sounds like we need to do a vote of the names, calling of the names.
Yeah, just go one at a time, please. Just,
All in favor of Counselor Papen for vice chair?
I think we're
You
doing.
need to do a
a
roll call vote.
Roll call vote, so we'll start with the mayor.
Aye for Councilor Papen. Commissioner.
Hagler. You.
Aye. Commissioner Haven, aye.
Commissioner Haydorn, aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye.
Counselor or Commissioner Redding, aye.
Director Forge, aye.
hey. Vice chair for the year.
Next on the agenda, we have unfinished business. Is there anything in the unfinished business?
Thank you, Chair Weber. The unfinished business item, which is not appearing, but there was an item. Yes, but it was just meant to be an update. We have officially retained Elaine Howard Consulting to move forward with removal of the sunset date in the urban renewal plan so that the urban renewal agency can take action and update things well past July of this year. And as a matter of fact, this morning she sent in some draft deliverables that I haven't had a chance to look at yet, so I figure we'll have that wrapped up first month, meeting of March at the latest. It's a small contract and very quick. But anyway, I already have deliverables, so we'll be coming back to you with some of that soon.
Question, do we need some kind of motion to create a public record that the board has approved that?
No, it's that contract is well south of $50,000, so it's just administratively handled.
On a practical level, my confusion is the difference between the board. My understanding of the way this exists is totally separate from all the rules and guidelines of the city, so we need our own guidelines. So do we have a guideline that says up to 50 we don't have to approve?
The establishment of the URA means that it basically follows all the same rules as the city because you're the board for this agency. So it's all the same purchasing rules, everything else.
You're saying your understanding is this board follows the codes and the charter and everything of the city?
Correct.
I mean, we can do that later, but that wasn't my understanding. I mean, we could get clarification from the attorney. Again, I'm very happy we're gonna hire Elaine. I was just curious if we should create a public record that we did it, so it exists somewhere.
Well, I mean, the public record is that we have a contract and she's moving forward with the work and we'll have that back to you. Basically, what she's producing is a final resolution to come before you to approve changing that language. Excellent. Very good.
Okay, so we have moved through unfinished business. We're on to new business, which is the 5-year strategic plan scope of work with Nick.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So basically here is in your packet, you have the PowerPoint presentation that Nick Popenoff with Tiberius Solutions gave to you all. And it sounded like there was great interest in different aspects of a 5-year strategic plan that he discussed in the work session. And so the item here is I'm looking for direction from you all on if you would like to do a 5-year strategic plan exactly as he described and is in the packet of information that he presented, or if you would like to do less than that full scope of work, or what you would like to do, and then I'll go forth and go through the contracting process to do that scope of work and contract.
Just a clarification on the practicalities. When we first met, we had Elaine Howard, and she's gonna do the sunset clock, the thing. And then Nick showed up. Is Elaine not, there seemed to be a thought at the beginning that Elaine was gonna do everything for us. Is she not interested in doing everything for us? And what is she gonna do? And Nick, and just some clarification about how the whole process is going.
Sure. So, Mayor, would you like to ask your question with your hand up before my answer, or would you?
No, you can give your answer. I was just gonna say something, but go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. So Elaine came and spoke specifically to, she did her URA 101 in December. And then you gave direction that you would indeed like to remove the sunset clause from the urban renewal plan. And so that's what we've moved forward with her, because that's kind of her field of work, urban renewal plan documents and amendments and additions and all that. It's also true that during her meeting, during her presentation with you, she let you know she was transitioning into semi-retirement. And so she would be taking on fewer assignments. And if anything did come up major, she would team with, in a purely advisory capacity, team with Tiberius Solutions on it. So for instance, if this agency finally gets to the point where it says, we want to do a significant amendment, a whole brand new plan overhaul, a bunch of new projects, all that, then that would be an expensive project. And so when we go out to bid for that sort of thing, it would be Tiberius Solutions bidding on it with Elaine on the team. for the 5-year strategic plan, with her going into semi-retirement or retirement, she's not going to be doing primary work on things anymore. And that's why Nick came and presented what a 5-year strategic plan for an urban renewal agency would be. And so he will be one of the firms I have to get a cost bid from to do the scope of work. But I have to get other bids too.
Mayor Dunbar?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, I think this is something that we had consensus on post work session. I would say that I would like to see us move forward with the strategic plan, because I think we need to get moving on it, or we're gonna be behind the 8 ball, as it were. That was it.
Commissioner Hagedorn here. I'm aligned to proceed with the scope of work as is and proceeding with the bids.
Okay. Thank you.
Consensus from Commissioner Papen as well. Consensus, Council Reading.
Director, you want to be commissioners,
So sorry to ruin things here, but just to clarify, so will Nick be able to come up and discuss with us about the scope of this before we answer that question? Sorry, maybe I'm a little bit confused.
So if you would like to have him come back and discuss scope more in depth, he can. The question before you here is based on the scope of the different things he said, he suggested being in a 5-year strategic plan. If you liked and wanted all of those things in a 5-year strategic plan process and to be scoped out that way, that's the direction you're giving. If you would like to have him come back and talk more about, structuring a 5-year strategic plan, we would need to put a hold on this direction to me, and he would need to come back.
But we're not saying, hey, Nick, it's you. We're
We can't do
doing a
that.
bid.
We can't do that.
But how do we, for clarification, he's presented something that he wants to do. We can't bid out that because that's his work. So how do we find the other bids on something he is telling us he would do for us?
He presented to you, so that's the fine print on Oregon purchasing law for public agencies. He came as a consultant and we have another one this evening who is going to kind of go over some other things that urban renewal agencies typically take on when they do new planning. But we'll get to that. But when consultants come before you, like Nick, he came to talk about suggesting to you that the best next step is to do a 5-year plan, strategic plan. And he presented a scope of work he thought you all should consider doing. He will definitely bid on it, but it is not his guaranteed job. We have to, by purchasing laws, go out and get alternate bids, different bids for that project based on the scope of work and how expensive that will be. So it'll be well south of $50,000, but it'll probably be between $10,000 and $20,000, I imagine. But he wasn't telling you he's doing this for you. He was presenting a scope of work he thinks you should do, and then he will bid on it when we go out for it, when I get quotes.
So Chair Weber, as the new guy, I'll ask some dumb questions here. So my personal priority was URA renewal. I think is really important. What I've heard tonight is that Elaine Howard is moving that forward, and I think that's great. I love it, 100% behind it. I have some governance questions that I want to ask and I think you guys would be interested in asking those questions too. And I don't want us to sign up for a 5-year plan without asking those questions. So just for clarification, will we have an opportunity to ask governance questions related to this 5-year plan before we kind of lock ourselves into a path?
On a practical level, when would be the appropriate time to do that? You have a suggestion?
Well, I guess my question would be, what governance questions are you interested in exploring? Because I guess you answer that, and then I can kind of maybe relate what he suggested as a scope of work and what might make sense in terms of sequence. So,
Thank you, Bill. I think if I had to guess for the direction of the URA board going forward is we're gonna be more enthusiastic from a governance perspective than maybe previous boards. And we're gonna be engaged and we're gonna be thoughtful and diligent. And so I guess, when I see a 5-year plan, to me, that's an approach that would, maybe it's gonna be better suited for a board that isn't making as many governance decisions. So examples of things that I'm interested in, if we can get an advisory committee to help us with making decisions about properties or how to think about the grants associated with it. Reviewing our budgets and are the administrative expenses associated with this URA consistent with other cities? How to identify properties and priorities? Assessing our boundaries. I know Chair Weber has mentioned a rec center multiple times. And I want to make sure that you guys have an opportunity to give those thoughtful questions before you sign up for a project that freezes you out of those choices. And I'm not saying that is, so I just wanted some reassurance from everyone that either you guys are all comfortable with those governance changes or you guys all understand that you have an opportunity to influence and you're not concerned about it.
Say something.
I can take the read. Commissioner Papen, I would just share, it's as policymakers, I fully expect that is a discussion that we would all have. I don't necessarily feel that we need a separate advisory committee. Part of the scope of the project presented in front of us, specifically mentions identifying priorities for the next 5 years, prioritizing which eligible projects are most important. So I think in the broad scheme, that is my understanding that we would be having these discussions. This is really just a discussion of kind of the framework of what we are setting out to get bids for. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But this is really just the first brush stroke in the process.
Director, Commissioner David. Sure, we can do that. I guess, let me just go over kind of the different sections that Nick discussed. And I guess my answer ultimately is the process he's going to go through isn't locking you anything. It's actually going to, the work is to reflect what you want, right? And changes to how you do things, being more proactive or wanting to do things differently. And that's all, fully appropriate. So the scope of work he proposed was really first, just kind of, let me go through here and go back to it. Just an identification of kind of existing conditions in the plan that are important to better understand what the boundary is, just kind of existing conditions for the urban renewal agency so that everybody's on the same page about what the plan calls for and what its boundary and other constraints are. He proposes doing he suggests that doing kind of a report on where all the projects have been over in the existing plan, which projects have all been checked off, which projects still haven't been, which are in progress, so that you just kind of have that as background for how you choose to move forward. He suggests doing revenue forecasts to give you an idea of what future resources will be in the district as defined, so that you might want to think about if you do change the boundary, well, you know what the forecast is if you don't change the boundary, if you don't consider that. So it's I guess what I mean to say is every step along the way that he proposes or suggests that you do is meant to inform that how you want to do things differently. It's not meant to commit you to certain actions, but just inform you regarding how you might want to do future actions. I think the one thing I think that will be kind of, maximum indebtedness that gets calculated by a formula, that there's no, it is what it is, it gets handed to us. I think, and then, but later in the scope that he suggests, have discussions with you about what types of projects moving forward make more sense for the URA and its plan. Which remaining projects that haven't been done maybe should be scrapped for other ones. So there is very much getting your input and direction on things in the strategic plan. So I guess I think what he's suggesting to you is a bunch of tasks that basically just kind of inform your future decision making, not determine what your decisions are. If that makes sense.
Would his scope of work or whoever we pick include kind of analysis? I'm very interested just in the first 20 years we did this.
Yeah.
How much money came in, how much money went out, how much did we spend on sidewalks, how much did we spend on grants, how much did we spend on land purchase? Just kind of an analysis of what's happened, because I think that's foundational to the next 5.
I think that's,
The postmortem is a part of
that's
it.
in our packet. All of those things are in our
And that
packet.
seems to be in there.
Yeah, the postmortem was a part of that from the last meeting.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What date was it here? It was in the end of December, so,
It's great.
oh, January.
No, he was in January.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly, postmortem's in there. I think the level of detail that we would scope a consultant to do that, like, you know, how in detail do you want to go back 20 years? I mean, for the first 5 years of an urban renewal plan, there's no money. Because increment grows very slowly. But that'll be part of it. So
And you're saying this has to be bid out because it's gonna be over 50?
we have to bid out any project we get. Any public money spent on a consultant, unless there are extenuating circumstances, we have to get quotes from different companies.
And Tiberius.
Did we bid?
Would be one of them.
Yes.
But Elaine's, what Elaine did, we didn't have to bid.
Elaine, no, because she's kind of the only consultant really, except for there are law firms that do it for more expensive than her, but with her retiring and putting this in her schedule before she retired, those qualify as extenuating circumstances, plus the cost of the contract is below $4,000. But for this, over $10,000, we'll need to go out and get competing quotes.
So Bill, just to summarize here.
Mhm.
We have Elaine, she's pursuing the URA renewal, which I'm a big fan of, and I think everyone else is here. That renewal isn't gonna lock us into anything as a result of this conversation with Tiberius. Let's say we make a boundary change, just to toss out an example.
Mhm.
So Elaine is gonna get us a renewal, and then we can make subsequent changes after the renewal. There's nothing that we're being frozen into.
Correct. All Elaine is scoped to do for you right now, is to eliminate the clause in the current urban renewal plan dating back to 2006 that says the district sunsets or closes its doors on any future actions, July 7th of 2026. So all she is doing is working on a resolution for you to pass as the URA board to eliminate that language. And then that opens up however much more time the agency wants to exist, to do all these new things and different things. All she is doing is just removing the time constraint that we have right now in the plan, that the agency ends in July of 2026. That's all she's doing.
Okay, so I'm sorry, this is gonna be my last question, you guys. So Elaine is removing the sunset provision through a resolution, but she's not actually filing renewal paperwork. Would Tiberius do the renewal paperwork as
What,
part of this?
what do you mean by renewal paperwork? I guess?
So, and this probably, I'm being ignorant here,
No,
but
it's
my understanding is that as part of the renewal process, we need to go out to our taxing partners and describe to them the status of our URA and what our vision is going forward. And my hope was going into this that we have a separate track of just focusing on getting a passing grade getting that URA sunset provision renewed, getting that renewal, our taxing partners are on board. And then we have time as a group to think about governance types of things where we can be more thoughtful about boundaries and facilities, and we don't have time pressure associated with those sorts of conversations.
Um, Director DeForest, that's correct. So part of her scope of work, what she anticipated was at the very least, she had planned to reach out to 12th Valley Fire and Rescue because that taxing authority whose increment we do get in our urban renewal agency, they very much like to be consulted. They're kind of more careful or sensitive to this particular topic than other agencies are. I haven't seen her draft deliverables yet, so I don't know what the checklist is of who all she spoke to, but they were number one, but might have been the only one based on who was interested in talking. But yeah, at the end of the day, her job has been and is to speak to other agencies who might just want to be made aware that the city still has projects to do and will do more urban renewal activity moving forward. And then bring back to you all simply a resolution that strikes the sunset date from the current plan. But after this, you're still working with the same plan that's adopted from 2006. It just doesn't expire in July of this year. And the reason why Nick came and suggested these things to you was because you have a 20-year-old plan. Many laws have been changed we have some projects in there that are grandfathered from a legal perspective, but anything new you want to do has to pass through the filter of, is it legal still, or how state law change that might affect those things. So, and then we don't know long-term where tax increment revenue is going, how that's going to grow over time. The district is largely built out except for the, few, infill properties here and there, and then the grocery store site, the Glencoe Opportunity area. And so kind of taking a look at how much in resources this will generate over time helps inform that conversation. So there's just a lot of information. Stop before you do any major changes and new directions. Just gather kind of all the information to understand where you've been. And then moving forward, what are the resources likely going to be in the future? And then how are you thinking about the types of new projects you might want to do? So that's what this is. It's just to kind of help you get some direction moving forward with a lot of information you don't know about the past.
So
bringing you up to speed.
Commissioner Weber, just a quick summary then. We're February now. How do you see this going? How long till we hire somebody? Let's say we try to meet once a month. When till we get this all done? When would each time take place? When would we approve them? When would we meet with them to discuss potential projects? And yeah, just how you see
No
the
problem. So great question, Chair Weber. So basically, with your direction with consensus or majority, however you want to do it, I go out and I get different cost quotes, including from Tiberius. It won't take very long. Anything under $5,000 is an informal bid. And what that means is I just email or call consultants identified to do the work, and I just say, hey, and I get the information from them. And then it's our job to hire the ultimately lowest responsible bid. We don't hire who's the cheapest. If somebody's super qualified and they've done a lot of this type of work much more than anybody else, then we can hire them if they're not the cheapest. There's give and take, there's room there. But anyway,
we're ready to pick by when?
we're ready to, well, yeah, we'll have a consultant by the end of this month, certainly. And then I imagine I don't know if it's a 2-month or a 3-month process that he's talking about, would be needed for a 5-year strategic plan, but I can get that updated and then when we kick it off, you'll know all that. But we can have somebody contracted by the end of the month, so.
Okay, cool. So what we're looking for now is, do we need a formal motion is what we're saying to approve this process?
I think it could even just be consensus would you like to move forward with this, with the strategic plan, with the scope of work you heard from Nick Papanek?
Is Commissioner Dunbar on?
We good?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
There he is. He's verbal. Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Right.
Yeah.
We have just covered the 5-year strategic future URA project and feasibility discussion.
And for that, I would like to ask John Lagarza to come up to the table here.
Welcome.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah. Very nice. I have your PowerPoint slide.
Great, all right.
So let me give just a kind of a quick context for John. He can introduce himself and what he does and what he's here to suggest you should also be looking into as you're thinking about future planning for the URA. But you have heard at the work session, we just talked about Nick Papanek of Tiberius Solutions talking about suggesting the merits of a 5-year strategic plan, because we're at this point where some big new directions and changes need to happen. And that plan kind of gives, based on what you give us, that plan for everything we need to do to move forward is what you just decided to move forward with tonight. But that's all kind of on the governance side of things. As Director DeForge was talking and describing. What Director DeForge also kind of touched on, URAs need to consider for their planning purposes is what I've asked John to come and talk about for you to think about also we should be doing in the future. And that is not just, just kind of project identification by preferences, not just taking a look at revenue forecasts, not just changing goals and objectives in the plan potentially, and maybe even boundaries. That's all important. Those are all regulatory changes. What I've asked John to come and talk about are the merits of also kind of doing the economic feasibility look at things, properties, opportunities, sectors to target, and actions based on cost and return on investment for the URA. So kind of the dollars and cents part, not just the regulatory and the objectives and goals stuff, as it were. So with that, John, if you want to introduce yourself, I will fire up your PowerPoint presentation.
All right. Well, thank you, City Manager Reed, and pleasure to be here, Chair Weber and Commissioners. Chair Weber, congratulations on a hard election. It was a lot of fun to watch here this evening here. So, John Lagarza, Healthy Sustainable Communities. Our firm is located in Wilsonville, Oregon here. As City Manager Reed talked about, we provide a lot of support, fractional support around economic development, urban renewal, and strategic planning to help cities that are going through kind of these growth opportunities to look at and help you think about it from that standpoint there. I first met with your Economic Development Commission here. We work with some of your sister cities here. And so I brought a couple examples just so to kind of walk through like kind of the lane that we work in. We work with Elaine Howard and Tiberius Solutions also hand in hand. So Elaine's more kind of thinking about that policy governance position that you talked about in Tiberius, because some of your looks at doing your modeling. Where we come in, if you could go to if you just kind of look up here, what I talk about is we're kind of like your boots on the ground implementation market strategy folks that really start to reach with your business owners, your property folks, and trying to understand what their needs are from that standpoint. We can go to the next slide, Bill. Yeah, perfect here. So the first thing I want to share with you, this is an example like a market assessment. You can kind of pass this around that we did for the city of Banks here, right? So just helping you kind of really understand, your main street here and your properties within the urban renewal area here. So one of the things that's important is you're looking at your area where you have these new boundaries, right? Is just really understanding what is the opportunity that we have here in North Plains, right? And how are we as a city and an urban renewal agency and an economic development agency, how are we going to move that forward and attract those businesses or help those businesses grow that we have here, right? So we meet with your community. We spend time. We look at who the parcel owners are. We meet with the business owners. We gather that information. We come back and we talk to you about whether you have some existing programs that might work, or maybe we should be thinking about some new programs. And that kind of goes back to what City Manager Reed was talking about, thinking about what is that new vision for your urban renewal moving forward, right? What are we trying to develop in our Main Street program? Are we trying to attract a grocery store? Are we trying to get a certain restaurants? Are we looking for other businesses around the tech industry that we have here in our industrial park, right? Those are important things to think about. So you can go to the next slide there, Bill. Sorry. So really what we do is help you kind of understand what's feasible, what's marketable, and who are the actors out there to think about as we move forward, helping you with your urban renewal and your economic vitality of your community there from that standpoint there. So stop there for a second because Commissioner DeForest.
I was just gonna ask you, is it okay that we jump in and ask?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, yes.
I was just to start with a basic question. When I think of URAs, I think of them as addressing blight. And it looks like you're looking at it from a lens of ROI and maybe even business incubator. Is that a correct summary? And is that consistent with a URA?
The URA does look at blighted areas, and that's one of the, qualifying characteristics to be in a URA. And so thinking about areas that we have underutilized properties and how do we move those underutilized properties forward, right? So a lot of times we'll be working with this, with the community, and this is real common in Oregon. We'll have second and third generation property owners that, basically they have absentee landlords. They become the storage areas. So how do we look at moving those parcels and those storefronts or those properties forward, right? And so, Bill's over here running the city, right? He's managing the streets, the parks and everything, but like, you have to have someone in your team that can help work with the property owners, understand, come back to you and say, okay, our existing urban renewal programs, we probably need to rethink about if we're gonna move some of these properties forward. What are those programs need to be now, right? So understanding that, number one, from our community and what our community needs, and then updating our plan to have those programs, right? I'll give you an example. We just went into the city of Sandy and they have absentee store owners, second or third generation, family members that are out of state, right? So we created a program to help them really think about an investment that they can see to move forward. And what we do is we get in a granular basis too. So kind of thinking about when you're talking about, show me the cash, Director Weber talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want to understand the last couple of years, right, of what happened in the urban renewal, right? So how do we tell that story, right, as we go forward, right? So really thinking about it from that standpoint, the successes that we had in an urban renewal, right? Go to the next slide, Bill, please.
Absolutely.
So really, we have to understand where we came from, and we have to be able to communicate that out to the public and to the business community, and to think about those future programs as we move forward, right? So really telling that narrative, we help create that story, we help create that vision as you're thinking about moving forward from that standpoint there. I'll stop there for a second so you guys can take a look at that there for a second or two. Any questions? So what's real important is when Tiberius is looking at like, what would be our, what's the modeling for the maximum indebtedness, right? And when we talk to business owners, we have to understand what the vision is there, right? It's like, what are we gonna put there? Are we gonna put a 20,000 square foot grocery store? Are we gonna put a 10,000 square foot restaurant? Is it gonna be a commercial building? Do we have an industrial user that could be potentially tied in with our technology that we have here in our city? So we need to understand those. So when we model and look at those things and think about those programs as we grow, right? It's been 20 years since you've done your urban renewal plan. So more than likely it needs to be updated, and we have to think about as we grow as a community, who do we want to be as a community and who do we want to have in those spaces, right? Because the state forces us, to stay in these boundaries. We have to look at that and think about showing our successes, what's our market demand, and how do we move forward with new programs to help attract business opportunities or help the business that we have here grow from that standpoint. So we work hand in hand. That's what we do. We really look at it from an economic lens. We model at a parcel level so we can look at what that payback is, what's that future revenue. It's what is it? Is it Chair Weber or it's Chair Weber, right? We talked about earlier tonight. I was listening to you, right? So what are those cost benefits, right? So helping the community to understand if we're attracting someone into our industrial properties, that they understand the revenue opportunity that's going to come back to the city, right? And that's going to be able to help for other projects too. So next slide there.
Can you say a little more? It sounds like there's similarities in what Tiberius does, what Elaine Reynolds does, and what you do. But how would you summarize the difference? I mean, it sounds like they can do a lot of that. You're just what, more in depth, more focused?
We're more the implementation team. So in Oregon, we're famous for doing a lot of reports. We do EOAs, we do a housing needs analysis. We have an urban renewal report, right? And you get a report. But at the end of the day, your urban renewal agency and your economic development, you need people that are kind of like your boots on the ground that are going to implement that. And then we feed into Tiberius and Elaine. We work with them hand in hand in other cities, so it's not uncommon. And in some cities, we do the work too. But it's a joint effort in this situation because you are already working with Elaine, you're talking to a Tiberius. So in this we would be like your implementation team that helps you understand what your business community, what you need from a market perspective, and then work with, say if it was Tiberius or XYZ firm, we would work with them to help them understand if you decided to build a new 5-year strategic plan, what that would look like, right? So you have to have someone that's going to be talking to your business community, meeting with the business community, understanding what your market demand is, and having those connections and working with NAIOP, ULI, those are important people talking to your chamber. We a lot of times will do yearly events with the business community and they want the appreciation, and building that connection. And it also helps connecting with your residents here, right? Because you're growing and understanding what they need. So it's an important thing to be able to communicate that too. So again, just talked about, we go at the parcel level. So really thinking about like what those payback decisions would be. We work hand in hand with the other consultant team. Next slide, please. And again, what we find is, gathering the data, right? You as the board have to make some really hard decisions sometimes. But what we try to do is bring in the data. So then the data helps you have an informed decision, right? So it's quantitative information versus, you still have some qualitative, but it's more quantitative to understand at the end of the day what programs are going to move the needle for economic development, for your urban renewal, and that transparency helps the public understand from that standpoint there. So next slide.
Can I
Again,
jump in with a
yep,
quick question? So for a city our size, where you might have some of the counselors that are very familiar with their community as compared to a larger city where there's more disconnect and we need to rely on economic analysis, do you typically see cities our size, if they go through URA renewals, that they would sign up for this service?
yes, I do. I mean, I think the more engaged you have, right, of a board, which listening to you here tonight, you seem very interested in trying to move this forward. You talked about economics, sometimes we have boards that are very absent, right? But you're a city that's growing. And again, I go back to like, you're growing and you have to think about the city managers over here running the city, right? And you're going to continue to grow, but you have to be able to, Bill's only got so much time in the day, right? You're going to need staff or someone like us to come in and help you. Since you're passionate, you're growing, you're right on, it's happening right around you, right? It's going to continue to happen. But to help really think about how you're going to shape your city and how you're going to have those investments, yes, I would say it's very important that you consider that.
And do you envision this as like an ongoing relationship that continues, or is this, you produce a report that we use?
We don't, yeah, it's an ongoing relationship. So most of the time we contract for 3 years. It's a revolving contract. You have a lot of work needs to happen over the next 2 to 3 years here. We don't want to work with cities where we come in, we give you a report and we leave. We work, a lot of cities we've been with for 3 to 4 years. We continue to do their work. We continue to provide support for them. And if you're gonna build a strong community, you're gonna need that, and reaching out to them with the connection with your EDC, the connection with your chamber, the connection with your community, the community engagement. It's a lot of work, right? It's a big lift. And for years, North Plains is just, until you had all this housing that came in, it just kind of sat out here, right? Quietly. So now you have an opportunity to really think about, like, how do you shape your main streets? What's that look like? And what do you want to be known for besides a bedroom community, right? Those are things important to think about from that standpoint. Okay, let's see, maybe the last slide, I think here, Bill. Yeah. So again, when you think about it, like, the sooner you start, right, we're losing dollars in our community, right? People are going to other grocery stores or going to other businesses to shop, so identifying what we want to have, keeping those dollars in our community, bringing in those bigger tax-based businesses or growing the businesses that we have. That's important because we want to have those services and keep that in the community from that standpoint there. So I know it's a lot, but I'm happy just to be here tonight, and I'm glad to see how passionate you all are from that standpoint. So happy to answer any questions.
I mean, I think, Councilor Weber, I think you'd be an excellent addition. I mean, it's kind of new information to us now because in the past, it was just a city and Elaine Howard, then Tiberius or whoever, and then potentially you. But I think you could be potentially very helpful, because I think that's the struggle in the past with the city. There was all this money, but where do you spend it? How do we create a grant program? All those things. So I don't know. Bill could answer that. I don't know. At what point do you say, here's what I'd be willing to do for you, and here's what I would charge?
Yeah, we worked with Bill on that. When I came tonight, because I thought you guys were gonna have that big party for that big check I saw. So, congratulations on that. But those are exciting things that really, to see and think about, like, where's that going, what's that gonna be? We're happy to give Bill a scope of work, and you work through that and come and talk to you anytime you want from that standpoint there too.
I guess what I just wanted to say was, having John here, and I think, Director DeForge's question about, do other cities do this? Smaller cities included. From my perspective, I'm not as interested in what type of an arrangement should happen with a consultant, for a number of years or whatever. That to me, what I wanted you all to hear and think about, and we'll bring it up again at a future meeting, was first just a consulting company like John's is the one that, like, Tiberius and Elaine Howard Consulting, they do the high elevation policy and forecasts and maximum indebtedness and updates to the planning document, right? Goals, objectives, projects, public projects in particular. But what urban renewal districts agencies typically forget or underemphasize, and this urban renewal agency's plan is almost completely silent about it, is the agency's job is to address blight. It's to address properties, physical properties that are underutilized. Is it because they need sidewalks and water connection? Maybe, but that's a public project. Maybe we have property owners that just don't live here and they're not willing to put money into the property, and they don't see the property as anything but collecting rent for storage. We have that. Or maybe it's just collecting rent on a building that they have no plans of improving at a great corner. And that's not really doing anything to enhance the district, but the property can be part of the future doing something differently. But Elaine and Tiberius Solutions don't look at the kind of the real estate underutilization part of things that really determines where we spend our money. They work with the planning stuff and they work with the regulatory stuff. But what gets missed and what firms like his do is, does it make sense to buy those properties? Does it make sense to talk to those property owners? Does it make sense to assemble them and do something differently? Does it make sense to buy that property and then tear it down without an exit strategy? Like those things, like what do we do? What do we do when we spend money on projects that are meant to facilitate new private development? That's not what Elaine and Tiberius Solutions do. I just to illustrate what the difference is, because I don't, it's a very distinct and valuable thing, but I don't want the impression that Elaine and Tiberius do those things, because they don't. But this is super important because I don't want to go out and buy a property and then, you know what I mean, without an exit strategy. The grocery store site was bought with the intent of a commercial center anchored by a grocery store. It had an advisory committee to determine what the uses should be on that property. And then we went out and got interest from developers. And then that committee picked the best proposal for what should be planned for the property. But the city has also bought properties really without an exit strategy. So we just kind of have this heap of junk and it's expensive to take the hazardous materials out. It's even more expensive to demolish it. And then we don't even really have a specific plan for it. That's the kind of thing this firm does. Just to differentiate.
Well, my understanding is we're not deciding anything tonight, hearing your report, which is excellent. Is the group comfortable? I mean, I would be fine if we're at the next step where you want to be more specific as here what I could see myself doing for you, here would be my scope of work, here would be what I would charge. Now, I don't know if we are gonna hire somebody like this, does that also have to be bid out or could?
I'll have to call and get quotes.
But we could get one first and then
Oh, yeah.
you could. Is there a consensus to welcome? Again, you did a wonderful job.
Well,
Again, we're not
thank you so
gonna,
much. Pleasure to be here.
we're not deciding tonight, but I think we've reached the end of, the next step would be wonderful.
We love to help you and work with your team here, so.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, and
Thank
I appreciate your opportunity this evening.
thank you. The other thing we have on here, I don't know if there's much to say, UGB PAC meeting update, kind of done that, right?
Sort of, yeah. So because the URA is a different entity, because you all are making decisions on spending other tax agencies' money effectively. This body doesn't have to have it on every URA agenda. But as the URA body, the Urban Renewal Agency has slightly different things to look at regarding an urban growth boundary expansion. So when you're talking, so as you all consider doing new things with the Urban Renewal Agency, you might be thinking about new boundaries for the existing Urban Renewal Agency. You might be thinking about a new urban renewal district somewhere in the city, like maybe in the industrial area out West Union, or maybe on the east side of town or something along those lines. And so, if the city grows and it expands and grows and adds to the city limits, remember, as a city gets bigger, and it can have a bigger urban renewal district in it. So that's why I just put this on here so that you all could kind of begin to think about how the URA might have related, but a little bit different kind of conversations about what's important for the PAC process, for UGB study. And you don't have to take up the opportunity this evening, but I just kind of wanted to set the table that this body has in its charge has slightly different perspective on urban growth boundary expansion. That's all.
Okay. Thank you. Excellent. We're on to, I think, just the specifics, the individual comments, thoughts, board and staff comments. Starting.
You're in the hot seat
Yeah,
tonight.
really.
Well, I just want to say thank you. This is Commissioner Faven. I just want to say thank you for tonight's presentation. I think there were some really great insightful questions. I am really looking forward to making progress and moving forward and making sure that we utilize funds the best possible. And I appreciate just the insight as well about thinking outside the box. And with that, I will pass it over to Commissioner Hagan.
Pass.
Okay. Again, I was very impressed with the presentation, very helpful, excited, we're moving along. One specific request I would make, because I'm kind of a numbers person, if we could, the URA budget looks pretty simple to me, but I would be interested with a more in-depth thing, maybe next time we meet, Bill, or maybe you could do it in writing. It's simpler, but especially on the expense side, I was looking and there's this huge number of this service contract thing, and I think it was like 300,000 for the last 2 years, which, where did we spend all that money? And then there's over $500,000 that goes back to the general fund that is some sort of, I guess, reimbursement for something we've done. I mean, those numbers seem really big to me when we've only given out a few $50,000 grants. So I just need a context of, you don't have to do it now, but maybe it could be written out. Why are we spending so much money reimbursing the city staff? What is it they did that? And then how do we do that? Is there an invoice? How does that all happen? Because I think the tricky part is, even though on one side I liked it going to the city, when I sit here now, I have to stick up for their renewal agency. So where did all our money, why did so much go to the city? So that could be a future. Next.
Director ready? I'm just gonna switch it every time. I'm really excited about his work. And then something I've been noodling on for a while, and just, I don't know if it's here or if it's council, but what is the draw to North Plain? Do we need a rotating art display? Do we need to be Old West themed like we kind of did with the paintings? What is our draw? And then that'll kind of also set the stage. And so it'll be interesting what he brings forward to see what we want to kind of not pigeonhole ourselves into, but what is our thing?
Maybe we want to become.
And then, like, I know we have the trains on our signs. So then if a new park goes in, do you put some kind of train theme in there? You see what I'm saying? Like, what is our consistent theme that then draws people here? And something even, is TriMet or ODOT, whoever it is, thinking about putting like a high-speed rail down to Seaside. Well, do we want to be the parking lot? And then people, hop off and grab McDonald's or something before they get on it and go home. Or Taco Bell, or La Loteria, or King Torta, or Blackwater Coffee, all of our places. So these are just things I'm trying to figure out how to bolster our little city, put it on the maps. People are like, huh? Where's North Plains? And I always have to say, oh, north of the highway from Hillsborough. I want to be North Plains, kind of our own, what's our draw is what I kind of want to put into everybody's head. I think his report's really going to give us a direction on where to go with that.
Yeah, Director, that will all play into that. Two things I would just mention in addition. So as far as theme, in the downtown plan from 2023, there's actually a section in there that kind of gets into the style for the future of downtown. It's kind of like a combination between modern. The best way to describe it is like a blend between modern and traditional agriculture. So like just design elements and things that kind of, I don't have a better way to describe it, but I am not a designer. So, so take a look at that, but that's physical stuff. And then the other thing, the EDC's April meeting, we're scheduled to have Dave Perullo visit. He is the executive director of Visit to Alton Valley, the tourism bureau for Washington County. And he's here to mostly talk about an update to the county's bicycle tourism map and to talk bicycle tourism. and potential in North Plains. I think whoever the ex officio is, if anybody else wants to show up, that would be the opportunity with him here to say more broadly, how should we be asking these questions that you just asked? Is this like, what does a community typically do? Do they partner with you, Dave? What's the process like? Because that's from kind of a tourism, what is the community? Why come here? All those big questions, that's what they've worked with communities on. So he'll be here at the first Wednesday of April meeting of the EDC.
I would definitely be interested and if others too.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you could come, ask questions, and then he would probably get the sense that there are many more bigger questions about kind of about a destination thinking process, attraction thinking process about North Plains. And I'm positive we could get kind of a follow-up suggested plan for how to kind of tackle some of that stuff.
We send that out, information to the council, maybe with the Friday news or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Okay.
Director DeForge here, really looking forward to our URA renewal and continuing to move forward, and appreciate the staff work on bringing all these consultants in. That's it.
We have reached the end unless we missed anything else. Pardon? He is there. I thought are you there, Mayor Dunbar?
Oh, sorry.
I'm here. I'm
sorry.
director or commissioner or whatever, but yes. No, I concur with Councilor Redding. This is something I've been having a lot of conversations with different businesses and commission and board members and individuals in the city is what is the draw? And Bill had brought to my attention that Dave will be here. I've also talked to Explore Tualatin Valley at a couple other events. I think that it would be wise of whichever body is having it, the commissioner of the council, to invite the Chamber of Commerce to come as well, to be a part of that if they're not already, because I think that they're a key partner in this. So perhaps, maybe that's something we can reach out to them and just say, hey, it would be great if you were here because this is an area that, that we should be partnered on. So, but yes, I think that it's important for us to go beyond just what's in the plan on what defines us, but also think, with these consultants and partners, what do we want North Plains to be in the future? And that'll come out in the state of the city. But that is something that I've been trying to ask people to think about a lot more recently is what is North Plains to you? Like, why are you here? Why do you like it here? Because you came here for a reason. So let's understand that more. That's it.
We've reached the end. I think as far as meetings, we're probably going to need to schedule more of them in the next months than we have in the past, just so we can get ahead of everything we're doing. Thank you for coming. The meeting officially is adjourned at 9:10.
Hold on. And it wasn't even over.